Hello everyone, I am Crawlers and this is another episode of Ridiculous Loadout. As you may already know, this is a series I started way back when in the Battlefield 3 days, basically whoring myself out for cheap views, running a suggested loadout from one of you in the comments section. Now, mostly, this is a not so tactical series where most of the loadouts are either troll or bad or just plain ugly looking. Really, I get a chance to try out a kit, a combination that I haven't thought of before, and maybe have good results with it. Mostly not though. So, this time, a suggestion that's been uploaded a few times comes from Thomas Nielsen, called the Herp Derp Loadout, that consists of an M16A4 with an IR and V scope, a flashlight, if you can believe that, a compensator, a bipod. Also with me is the Servo Shorty, a 12 gauge shotgun with the Delta RDS and a full choke, a first aid pack for those quick heals on the move, and the 320 smoke launcher and the M84 flashbang grenade. Also the Grenadier field upgrade. But my last loadout episode, if I can just explain myself here real quick, I actually goofed. The problem is I was supposed to run the Ace 53 SV and I accidentally ran the Scar HSV, and although the two are similar in their specs and even looks, the problem that I had was I equipped one of them on the battle log and saved it to a class, but when I got into the game I clicked the wrong class, the class next to it, and ran that loadout because it had the very closely resembling DMR, the Scar HSV. So, you know, they were right next to each other, and I, of course, chose and recorded the wrong one, so sorry about that. But back to the loadout at hand. So, obviously, this loadout isn't going too much, hasn't too much tactics going for it, but admittedly, as the name, suggests, it's being kind of derpy. Take the flashlight, for example. It's pretty derpy, that. Now, by now, I'm sure that I'm not too fond of burst fire weapons in Battlefield 4 or any similar FPS game generally, and I said as much many times in the past. There's just way too little that these burst fire assault rifles hold over full auto ones, and in fact they are much harder to use correctly, and you're just never going to stand up to an AK wielding try-hard noob and come out on the other side of that fight anyway, especially in the game like Battlefield 4, which is ridiculously inconsistent and in its netcode, so you can never be sure you're gonna win a fight even if you have every advantage going for it and even a ping of 1. So, and another part of the burst fire assault rifles is that they are hard to get right. That is, to get optimum performance out of them, which obviously I'm not getting since I really haven't practiced a lot with the M16A4. The thing is, timing is crucial to make sense, to make sure rather you shoot these bursts right on top of one another. You see, if you click too quickly and you're gonna, then you're gonna jam the rifle and not get the next burst out in time because you're clicking while the previous burst is going on. And if you click too slow, you're gonna leave a big gap in between the bursts, leaving you open to get shot, to retaliation from the bad guy, which happens a lot more than I'd like to admit in close quarter situations. Another problem with the burst fire assault rifles, as I've said many times before, in fact, I'll link to the back of this video a video where I've sort of rented on the burst fire assault rifles for kind of the first time, and where I was still playing Medal of Honor 2010, by the way, and when I just began talking about it. Well, the problem is that burst fire assault rifles still have a crippling first shot multiplier applied to their bursts, which makes them a very poor choice over full auto assault rifles. DICE, as I said in a video a few months ago, actually tried to remedy the first shot multiplier problem of the burst fire assault rifles to give them, a bit more of an advantage over full auto ones. Essentially what they did was they moved the first shot multiplier to the last shot of the burst in burst firing assault rifles, which admittedly was a step in the right direction, but I think was still not enough. More could have been done. For example, the first shot multiplier could have been completely done away with on the burst fire assault rifles. But yeah, that's the kind of situation I find myself in with the M16A4 and its derpy attachments like the IR and V-scope and the flashlight, which just makes you stand out like a Russian tank in the middle of Ukraine, which admittedly that was a bad analogy because both sides are using Russian hardware. So alright, the M16A4, right? I mean, the burst fire variant, it is the burst fire variant of the M16, like I've said many times before, and its stats in the game actually changed very little since Battlefield 3. Its damage is a standard 25 maximum damage at 8 meters, which drops off to 18 at 55 meters, like all the other 556 caliber assault rifles. It has a rate of fire of 800 rounds per minute and a muzzle velocity of 650 meters a second in Battlefield 4. It also has the quickest reload times of any assault rifle, redeeming it somewhat in the eyes of the community, I suppose, clocking in at 1.8 seconds for the short reload and 2.37 seconds for the long reload. Its upwards per shot kick is a healthy 0.28 per shot, and its side-to-side recoil is uneven, which again makes it that much harder to use as it will pull more towards one side. That is 0.1 left and 0.4 right recoil. Its base first shot multiplier is 2.5, but all these recoil stats get a significant improvement with the use of the deployed bipod. Obviously it has to be deployed in order to provide any sort of improvement to these stats, but these stats that you see right now assume the bipod is deployed. All the recoil and the spread stats, even the stationary hipfire, get a significant buff with the bipod, which makes you wonder why we don't use it more often. But, the smoke and the flashbangs in this loadout that make it sort of derpy also have a tactical advantage if you can set yourself up to use them right. I mean, the only thing here that I see working against me is the flashlight, but other than that, it's a pretty okay loadout. The smoke can be used to cover your advance or retreat, or even give yourself a chance to camp in one spot for a couple of seconds and rain down lead on the helpless victims below. The idea here is that using the IR and V scope, you can see through the smoke and the enemy can't, so a huge tactical advantage right there, especially in close quarter operation clusterfuck and such. I can also see this being used on certain rush maps and just give yourself a bit of advantage with that. And, I hate Rush in Battlefield 4 though, so I don't really play it at all, but, I think it's just not fun. It's glitchy and unbalanced. And speaking of unbalanced, this Serbu Shorty, actually glitchy rather than unbalanced. I mean, the stopping power of a one hit close range hit can't be really beat. But you see, the problem is that the damn shotguns are so unreliable in Battlefield 4. They seem to have a ton of issues with hit detection or something like that, as most situations in close quarters, when you think you stuffed all the pellets into the other guy, he just shrugs it off, walks away with 85 health, and kills you in return. Fucking badness. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of Loadout, and now, because I don't feel like suffering alone, Thomas Nielsen must also run this loadout and upload it to YouTube, and I'll accept the link down below in the comments section. Thanks for watching. Please rate and share this video, it helps my channel grow. Check out my other videos at the end of this one. And remember, in Soviet Russia, YouTube subscribes you.